Hi, it's Paula from Pola Quilting. Welcome back to my channel. Today a improv type of block tutorial. I've called it Mirrored Suns, and for this project we will be using bigger pieces of fabric, and if you use bigger pieces the blocks are getting larger, and then obviously quilt is getting done quicker, but we still want to have an interesting block. So if you have a bundle of fat quarters, that's gonna be perfect project for that. If you don't have a bundle, you can do what I did, is basically I went through my both fat quarter trays and bigger pieces of fabrics, and I try to pair them up how they will kind of match and fit together best. So I'm pairing them up darker and brighter, but you can obviously pair them up maybe color wise. I don't know, for example, light pink and very dark pink, that will work as well, or pink with purple, that will work. So half of it were fat quarters and half of it were just cut from the bigger pieces because I didn't have enough of fat quarters to marry it up. So we've got this paisley and another paisley fabric here, some kind of background fabric with this peacock fabric, light green with a black fabric, but there's a lot of kind of green on this one, so that will match up as well. We've got blue with flowers and this bright pink to go with that one, orange brown color with a light brown color, blue, and kind of this type of a brighter blue with more bright color on it. So those are my pairs, and as mentioned, I kind of cut my bigger fabric to the size of fat quarters. Fat quarters can have a different size. It can be 18 by 20, 18 by 21. Some of them even came like 20 by 22. It really depends. So you want to pair it up first and then cut them all, trim them all to the smallest size you've got in that batch. It doesn't have to be what I've got size here wise. I think I've got about 18 by 21. Don't worry about what I've got, just have a look at your own batch. They can be a bit smaller, they can be a bit bigger. It's just about the method how you will put that block together. So let's take the first pair, and I'm working at one pair at a time. It's just make it easier, so you have control over what goes where. And what you want to first do is line them up at the bottom, just this one line, and the sidewise, if you line up, that's great. If one of the fabric is a bit bigger and other one a bit smaller, that's okay. Just line them up at the bottom, and it's good to have a nice sharp rotary cutter blade when you're working with improv designs, because you really want to go once over it, as we won't be using any rulers. So that's why sharp blade in here is a key. So let me grab mine. And the shape I will be carving is a round shape. I want to leave probably around, I don't know, 1 to 2 inches from the sides at least to start from. So if you want to mark it somewhat on your fabric, you can just use chalk. So maybe 2.5 inches from the edges, that's where you want to start from. 1 to 2.5. If you need that, you can kind of mark certain sections on your fabric. If you just like go with the flow, you don't have to. As far as you leave enough here on the sides, because we'll be obviously squaring that block up later, that's okay. And then how far up I want to go? Quite high actually, probably 2/3 of the fabric. Again, you can mark it with something how far you would like to go. Again, remember, we'll be squaring it up at the top. Now I like to go that far here because when we're going to be sewing the curves, the curve will eat the fabric, and it will eat fabric from the bottom. So you want to go enough high, because we will narrow down that kind of what you will see later with squaring it up. So about, like I said, 2/3, so I can make another mark here. So that's how far I want to go with my bubble. So I'm starting about 2.5, 3 inches from this side. And I'm gonna go here like that. It doesn't have to be exactly even. It doesn't have to, you know, working on improv block, so it doesn't have a perfect, there as well on both sides. If you worry about this type of things, you can make yourself a template, work on that, and then use it in your work. Okay, so once I've done that, I now want to cut it into half as well. So I'm just taking my ruler, I will find my middle. So this piece is 21.5 more or less. So that, again, it doesn't have to be perfect in the middle, but just more or less in the middle. So somewhere here is my middle. And I will cut it into half. So if I get my bottom aligned with one of the lines on my mat, then I can align my half on the lines of my mat as well. This is my mark here. I'll just use this line to cut into half. All of those pieces will be later squared up, so don't worry about perfection here, but you just want that middle line to be done here. And the first thing I want to do is move around those pieces. So my bright middle go with the dark background, my dark background goes with the bright middle. That's all what we're doing. And the important step here is where you're gonna start stitching. You want to start stitching from the top, so where the fabric is gonna be eaten by the curve it will be at the bottom. Okay, so let's get to the sewing machine. Okay, when sewing curves, how I found it works the easiest for me is to align certain elements of that block. So this is my curve. Let me just put it this way because this is how we're going to be sewing it. So this is how we'll be sewing that curve here together. So what I'm doing is I'm aligning the top edges of the fabric and the tip of my curve. I'm not looking at the bottom here yet, I'm not interested in that part. What I want to align is the tip of the curve and the straight edge of the fabric here at the top. And I'm just going to do 2 small stitches. The stitches are small, it helps with the curves when the stitches are smaller. I'm setting them up to 1/8, 1/7. Once that 2 stitches are done there, I can now start sewing, and I'm only looking at really between the needle and the foot how far I want to align. I'm not worrying about what's happening here, that's too far yet. And I'm just moving my fabrics to kind of go together between the distance. If I need to lift the foot up to readjust, that's what I will do. I might need to do it every few stitches because depending on the curve that might be necessary. So I'm just going slowly here. Later there may be parts where are a little bit more straighter for the curve, so I'm not gonna have to lift that foot up. But here I'm just moving it because I don't want to push or pull on that fabric. It's caught on the bias, so it's gonna stretch if I do that, and that will then make our block wonky, so we don't want to do that. So just use that foot, presser foot, to lift it up where you need it. You're only focusing on that small distance here, and you carry on. I've got those few tutorials already where I sew with curves. I will put them in the description below, so you can check them out as well for more detail. And I'm just slowly working through the distance here. It's going to be a little bit slower process with the curves, but because we're working with quite big pieces here, once we're done we have quite a lot of work completed, so that's okay to take a little bit of time there. So you can see here as I'm finishing that this black fabric sticks out more. This white fabric has been eaten by a curve, and that's why I said it is important to start from the same side when you're stitching, so when we'll be squaring up or kind of taking off the bits which are sticking out, will be all on the same side. And now we go with the second block. So again, this is where I want to stitch. So as you would have 2 straight pieces, you would just align them, you would just put right sides together and align all the edges. So at the moment I can only align top edge and the tip of my curve, Again, 2 stitches, 1, 2, and I can start curving here, making sure that I use that presser foot and lifting it up as needed. And I'm moving the fabric so they overlap. Okay, I finished stitching both sides and both layers, so I've got 4 pieces here all together, which I can now take to the iron board. And when ironing, which way to iron, it really depends on the fabric. I will just normally just have a look which naturally that seam will go towards to, because I'm not that fast about, especially with the improv quilting, about which way the seams are going. If this one wants to go inside, I will go with the inside. If perhaps this one wanted to go to outside because fabric kind of leads towards that, I will do that as well. In general, if you iron your fabric towards where the fabric wants to go, the block is gonna be flatter. So let me iron it and I will show you the next step. Okay, I've got my pieces back. This is how it looks. Just make sure you nicely iron there so there are no packers here at this bend. And as you can see, the fabric at the bottom has been eaten, so this is all what I need to now trim off. But also you may find that angle here is not that straight either, so it's fine to go ahead and just trim it slightly. So I'm literally aligning my ruler between top of the fabric and bottom of the fabric, and just straighten up this edge here. As you can see, I'm not sure you will be able to see under the ruler. Let me just cut it quickly first. This is how much I've trimmed, so it kind of bowed here a little bit. So just trim it off to have it nice and straight. Do the same thing on the other side. Again, I'm just aligning top and the bottom of my fabric there. We just want a straight line, and we're not yet squaring up the block. So that's one thing we want to do. Then I will just bring those pieces together, more or less where the top here is kind of matching now. This is nice and straight now, and I will trim off the bottom. So again, I'm just aligning here where the fabric, black fabric and white fabric meets here at the corner, and same here, because this place will also bow. So by doing that, I'm kind of trimming off the bow, and I'm trimming off those sticking out pieces here. This corner and this corner, I'm just aligning here, and I'm trimming it off. So it's not a lot of here, but just a little bit, just to make it nice and straight. And I will repeat the process in my other part here. So first of all, let's align them up. So first I'll just trim those middle sections here, middle edges, to make it nice and straight. Here the bowing is a little bit smaller, but it's gonna happen. It just happens with the curves and the kind of improv sewing. So don't worry about that. Just trim it off, make it nice and straight. And then again, I'm just aligning my top curve here. It doesn't have to be exact. You know what I mean? We're still gonna be doing more kind of cutting here, so it will not be exactly where it started from anyway, so don't worry about that much. And then again, I'm just aligning end of the fabrics here, and here we go. So I've got that bottom part nice and straight as well. So now I need to put those two pairs on top of each other, back where we kind of started. So I'm aligning the bottom and that kind of middle cut, because I know they are nice and straight. And I will do the same thing here. Here you go. You can see at the top here they are not straight, but I'm not worrying about it. I just want to align this edge and this edge, and bring those two blocks together, and that's where the improv kind of fun starts, because I'm gonna do another cuts to these pieces. They are going to be straight cuts now, not the curvy ones, so it's getting easier as we progress through the block. But that's just gonna give us all that effect of the sun. So first cut, I want to be here how much? 1.5 inch at the bottom from my middle cut. It has to be more than half an inch because you don't want to have a seam on top of the seam. That's all what it is, and I'm just going directly up. Again here, how much? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 8 inches, 7.5. Again, don't worry about measuring, just see what fits, how you like it the best. So one cut here, and then second cut, again you want to have at least half an inch between those cut here, but if you leave a little bit more, that's fine as well. So I've got about an inch away, and then I'm just gonna be about somewhere here. Here you go, this is how it looks, and I will do the same thing on this side. It's gonna be different distances here than the one on this side, and that's fine. As far as they're the same on the both layers, that's the only thing you are concerned about. And I would add the second cut here, more or less. Here you go. So this is what our kind of sun look like now, and we will now swap the pieces every second cut. Here you go, one, and then this one will swap as well. So you want to have alternated colors. I've got dark, bright, dark, bright, dark, and bright here, and obviously the other side will be opposite, but it also will be alternating. Now on this one, it is important to start again from the same side, because this one is already wonky, the top a bit, and the bottom has been nicely kind of squared up when we cut off what was eaten before by the curve. I will just turn that block around, so I know every piece I want to stitch now together, I will stitch from the top. It's easier to remember. You could start, you know, from the bottom there as well, but it's just easier for me to remember. Okay, so let's grab first pieces. This is how they need to come back together. Now, I do not necessarily want those seams here exactly in the same space, because it's going to be, if I don't hit them every time, it's going to be look like I have not done a great job. So let's do it on purpose and make sure they are not in the same space. So every one piece which is black at the kind of top, I will start a little bit higher than the other one, which means those seams here will be always shifted a little bit. So let's do that. So I'm not worried about here to matching those up. I want that seam here to come up higher than the bottom one. Not a lot, I don't know, maybe a 1/4 inch, anything between 1.5 inch will be fine. So I'm just aligning this edge here, and I can start sewing. This is definitely something you could chain piece, so let's do that. It's the same shape. It's just from the second pair which was under. Again, like I said, the black one I want to have a higher, to start higher than the brighter one. So the brighter one now will be starting lower than the other one. About, again, between 1.25 an inch. It's not exact measurement, just you don't want to start at the same line basically. Okay, let's take the first pair out. So this is how it looks. So that seam here is not matching exactly, but that's what we want to do. So again, this one I want to start lower. If I started black here lower, then I want to have black here lower as well, so the brighter will be a bit higher than you would normally have to align them. That way you also don't have to worry about how you start at the top, because nothing needs to match there. Okay, so this is the first bit from the bottom pair, and here when again that seam came out almost matching but not exactly. So when I'm gonna now add this one, the black is higher, so I will start something like that when stitching here to make sure they are a little bit more kind of not aligned here. That's funny how it is that we're trying not to align something and it does, but that's okay, it's improv, so however it come out it will be fine. So here the black fabric is higher than the brighter. Okay, I will continue stitching my pieces together. I will show you how they look at the when they are all stitched and ironed, so then I can show you what the next step is going to be, and after that I will show you how they look together on the design board. So before we carry on with the project, let's just round up where you can find me and how you can support my work. First of all, please subscribe to my channel and watch videos as I'm posting them without skipping the adverts, please. Please comment against the videos because that helps to push them out to wider audience, and don't forget to share with your quilting friends. Join my network either on Facebook or Instagram. All the links how and where are in the description below. Where you see my posts either on Facebook or Instagram, please like, share and comment on them. If you like to add something extra, I've got now membership available through the YouTube. You can also use a super thanks on YouTube or buy me a virtual tea, coffee or lunch using a form on my website. You can also support me by subscribing to my newsletter via my website. That will help me to notify you when I publish new videos or blog posts, or maybe there are some items available to purchase on my website. However you decide to support this channel, thank you very much for being here, and I hope you enjoy the content. Okay, so I've got my pieces ironed. So let's just show you one. You see, this is when I was stitching those pieces kind of sticking out more than others, so the same color is sticking out, the same color will be going down. So when we now trim it, we just got like one line to go with. If you were like sticking out next and next and next and next and next, the line would be like this and would need to trim quite a lot. So it doesn't matter which color goes up or which color goes down, as far as the same color always. Here I did other way around. Here the black color was sticking out and the white was a little bit lower. Again, I could have done the same combination like here, it doesn't matter. So what I want to do next is align my bottom line here first, because obviously we need to trim those edges here, so we can do it in one go. But also have a look, as you can see this piece here is a bit wider than the one below, so I will use the smaller piece to put on top. And you should probably do it when you have all of your blocks done, because you want to find the narrowest block first, so you will know the size you will be squaring them all up to. So I'm just putting them on top of each other more or less in the middle, and with those lines here also aligned where they are up here, so I know how much I need to kind of square it up to. So here, just simple first cut, I just want to trim it nice and straight. So I'm using the lines on my mat just to align those first few beads, because they will be in the same line, it's just it's gonna be up and down a little bit, so they're quite straight here. And you can, you know, this block is quite big, so you can trim as much as you feel comfortable with, whether it's a half an inch or even an inch, that's fine, as far as it's a nice straight line. Just gonna use one of the lines on my mat here to trim it. Okay, so I haven't trimmed a lot, it's just to make sure it's all nice and straight. And then I will just take that smaller bit for now, just to determine how I'm gonna square it up to the rest. So since this bottom edge is nice and straight now, this is the one I will be aligning on the mat here at the bottom, so it's nice and straight, and I can use the mat lines to cut the other side. The size wise, again, just have a look which, when you finish all the blocks and you all of them you trim at the bottom. Then have a look which block is the kind of the smallest height wise. This one is, I could trim it to 15.5. And again, your measurement may be different. Don't worry about what it is, as far as it's the same across the board. So I think I will cut it to 15 inches. It will be fine with that. So once I know where on my mat 15 inches is, I can just go in and trim it that way. Okay, so top and bottom is done. It's 15 inches high. So now I can trim the one of the sides. Just again using the, you can use now mat or you can use the ruler, either way is fine. Just find the nearest kind of size you can go with here. At the moment we do not know yet how wide it is. We're just trimming that side to make sure it's nice and straight. All of those bigger pieces are going to my scrap boxes, so I've got, you know, there is really not much waste here if that's how you kind of progressing with your blocks. Now I can turn it around. If I had access from the other side I wouldn't have to, but I don't, so I just turn it around. I'm just using a line on my mat there to make it nice and straight again, and then I can determine the size. So I'm just going with the narrowest part of this block. So I think I can do 16.5, which is fine. So 16.5 is on this line here. So again, I will just use the mat lines to align my block and trim it. And again, your size may be different because you may start from different sizes of the initial fabric. So just check what the size you can do with what you have. So I will quickly trim the other block to the same size, and then I can pop them all on the design board and show you what they look like when they put together. And here are my finished and squared up blocks. Obviously I will pop them on the design board for you so you can see how they can be put together. I really like improv because you kind of cannot go wrong with it. Even you have one plan of how you do the blocks with improv, if something goes wrong you can just change it to something else while you're doing it. So that's a good thing with that type of work. So I find the final cut, the final sizes of my blocks, individual blocks sections, are 16.5 by 14 inches. I planned 15, but there was one block which came out a little bit smaller, so I trimmed it to the 14. And obviously you will see on the pictures they kind of are a little bit elongated suns, not like rounded. So if you want to have it more rounded, you either need to cut it lower here when you're doing it, or you can just trim it later in here. So both options will work, but I quite like the shape they come out. And obviously you can also set them up in different scenarios, which you can see now at the screen. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Have a look at the options, let me know what you like the best. Please don't forget to leave a comment. I like reading your comments, I like reading your feedback. Pop in on my website, and if you would like to subscribe to it, that will help me as well to let you know when the new tutorials are ready. And please check my book, the book I've recently published. Check the Amazon reviews. People are happy with what they're seeing in it. It was my first ever book, so quite stressful, but I think so far it is a success. So I'm happy about that. And if you are in the country where the book is not available, or it shows as not available at the moment, it is most likely that the printer is not producing it there. So just reach out. I'm more than happy to help you to get the copy if that's what you want to do. Thank you very much again for joining me today, and see you next time. Thank you for watching. I hope you'll share this tutorial, subscribe if you haven't done so. Happy sewing, and see you next time.